Okay everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Retro Wajir, and last time we did hand trap tier lists. Today we're going to be doing board breaker tier list, and more importantly we're doing board breaker tier list post German nationals, so we have a better understanding of what will be more effective and what the most represented decks are. So without further ado, let's get started. As you can see here, we have the following categories for our tiers. We have very strong. These are going to be the best board breakers you can currently be playing. Then you have the good tier. These are just not as good as the very strong. Decent, they're decent. Mediocre probably means you can find something better to play. And lastly, the don't play category. These are the ones which are almost useless in every possible way, except for the nichest of interactions. So let's get started. First up, we have Alpha, the Master of Beasts. I'm going to say this is a little bit mediocre right now. While in theory Alpha can be useful, it doesn't really have enough of a place in the current format versus the top decks such as Sprite, Kashtira, and of course Labyrinth, which we just saw take down the national championship. For that reason, I have to put it here. Next we have the Book of Moon cards. Book of Moon and Book of Eclipse, these are generally good board breakers. Meanwhile, Book of Lunar Eclipse being by far the weakest one. I would call these, this is probably where you want to put them, Book of Moon, Book of Eclipse, being able to set everything face down. It will be not as effective versus the Sprite matchup, but it will still turn off the Sprite monsters or force out the IP Masquerena. Versus Kashtira, they are obviously very good. And then versus Labyrinth or any other deck, possibly branded, not that great, maybe a bit subpar. Next we have Change of Heart. I would put this in decent. I don't think it's a good enough card to be in the good category. It's definitely not very strong. But in certain scenarios it can be quite decent. And same thing can go for Mind Control. In fact, I'd probably say Mind Control is in the mediocre category. Just because while you're able to use Mind Control to do effectively the same things as Change of Heart, Change of Heart has the added benefit where if you take an Exceed, you can then attack with it and then make a Zeus in main phase 2. Mind Control doesn't allow you to do that, so I'd put it in the mediocre category for now. But if you were wanting to play it with extra copies of Change of Heart, that would be alright, just probably wouldn't. Then we go for the back row removal. Where is it? Back row. Let's see, Twin Twisters, and that was all. Okay, so for the back row removal, we have Harpy's Feather Duster and Lightning Storm. These are what I would class as the best back row removal in the format. These are the best ones. They have the most simplistic effect, doing a one for many, so you can trade them one resource for many. They're the best ones right now. They do the most with a little. Cosmic Cyclone is still good. I could even see it being in decent category, but for now I put it in good. It is the best one-to-one singular removal because it does something the others can't, where they all destroy, yet this is banishing, so it will be effective against the runic variant decks. In addition, it's actually not bad versus Big Welcome Labyrinth because it does have a graveyard effect, so that's something to consider. But it's just not as good as the Duster and Lightning Storm, as it is only a one-for-one trade. It does cost life points, so if you're getting close to time, it can be a bit of an issue. But Duster, Lightning Storm, the best ones by far. Main deck worthy, side deck worthy. Cosmic, probably only side deck worthy. And then the don't plays are Hatrunade and Twin Twisters. Twin Twister in a format where almost every spell trap is chainable, or it has a built-in protection, or it does something in the graveyard. It's very minimal, possibly only good against the floodgates. Whereas if you're against the floodgates, you'd most likely rather Cosmic Cyclone or Lightning Storm or Duster at any one point. And Hatrunade is just real bad. It doesn't do anything good. Anyone who knows this, it will force out the activation of certain traps. And then say if there's a rivalry, goes in, Tikaboo, Anti-Spell, anything of that nature, they will stay on the board because Hatrunade only returns a set. It does not turn anything that is face up at resolution back to hand, so it's mediocre. I'm sorry, it's not mediocre. It's just don't play. Period. We have some board wipes in terms of Darkhole and Raigeki. I would say they're decent, but generally right now everything has some sort of protection. And with that being said, I would say they're just decent, not overly powerful. So I wouldn't say you should play them, but they're okay if you choose to. I think Pancratops is in the decent category. It does something nothing else on this list can do, so it gives you a body that will interact and force your opponent to respond with on the board. In addition, it also a quick effect to then disrupt another card. So Pancratops usually can be a 2-for-1 trade. It's only limited, but it is a very niche interaction. I would still call it decent. Just evenly matched. This is like god tier, very strong. It is main deck worthy, side deck staple worthy. It is the best board breaker on this list by far. There's nothing that even comes close to it. Nothing does what this card can do. Forbidden card, the Forbidden Droplets and Chalice. Chalice is just don't play, and Droplets is mediocre. Droplets is only mediocre for the simple fact that Kashtira Arise Heart is still legal in the format. If Kashtira Arise Heart was not legal in the format, this is actually pretty decent / good, because it stops your opponent from responding. But considering all your cards need to go to grave, and Kashtira Arise Heart is such a format-defining card, or format-warping card if you want to call it, it makes cards such as Forbidden Droplet just unplayable. So it has to be in mediocre for now. Your don't plays are Herald of the Abyss and XYZ Encore. They were only good Floodgates type XYZ decks such as Purely, and since Purely does not matter right now, and it's almost an irrelevant deck, these are just don't play. And if you are considering the fear of Purely, there are just much better alternatives to these two cards right here that would be able to be used in a wide array of matchups, versus these that are very matchup specific to one deck. Next we have the Tribute monsters. So we have Kurikara Div Incarnate, which is a god tier board breaker kind of card. It does something that none of the others can do, where it gives you a enormous body on the board for almost free. It's able to bring monsters back in the end phase, and just something that no one else can do. It could be a 1-for-5, but it's always coming down as a 3,000 body that will monster reborn an opponent's monster during your end phase. It's so powerful. All the kaijus, I would say the kaijus are somewhere between good and very strong. I think they're absolutely staple in either some form of main deck or side deck, so it really depends, but you could put them in either spot. Lava Golem I would just call as probably good or decent right now. There's not a lot of terrible monsters that you absolutely need to outside of Kashtira, and if they're ending on just a lone Arise Heart, Lava Golem's probably not that great. So it's either decent or good. Either spot you really want to put it. We'll put it here for now. Sphere Mode is mediocre. It is very good versus the extreme combo decks, but most decks right now are just not setting up a board of 3 monsters, and that's it. They're either setting up a full board of 5, to where Sphere Mode would just not be impactful enough, or they're only setting up 2 where Sphere Mode is useless. In addition, you have to be playing a very specific deck that will allow you to still play after you've used your normal summon on Sphere Mode. Santa Claus is don't play right now. The outlier being if you're playing a Go Second Purely list, then you could use this card. Other than that, it is just straight up garbage. Do not play it. Super Poly is just mediocre right now. If you're playing Branded or another fusion-based deck, it can be very strong, but for general, it is just a mediocre option. Same with Ultimate Slayer. It takes a very specific deck to use, and unless you're playing a very, very specific deck that can not care about extra deck slots, so like Floowandereeze or maybe Labyrinth, then I can see it being used. However, there's not a lot of reason to use this card right now, so it's going to stay in mediocre. Next, we have Triple Tactics Talent, and I guess you could call Triple Tactics Thrust as well. Talents is just god tier. It can be played in the main, it can be played in the side, whatever you really choose. It is a great card. Whenever you resolve this, you generally take an unlosable situation, excluding extreme scenarios. And Triple Tactics Thrust, this card here, it's good, not very strong, because it does take another very specific situation where you have to have something in the main deck to use with it, especially going first. So most decks in the format cannot utilize Triple Tactics Thrust game 1 if there's no monsters on the board, but going second, it can be an absolute blowout. But Triple Tactics Talent is been one of the best cards in Yu-Gi-Oh since its release, and it's no surprise that it is just game defining in some scenarios. And then a card that some people are not agreeing with me, but is Dark Ruler No More. I'm putting this card in very strong, as in the God tier category. This card just defines games. If you're playing against someone in a Sprite live twin matchup, or for hire, or cash tier, or any other combo deck, this card here can just swing the tides of the game. And I'm surprised more people are not considering this card as game determining. It is, for me, on the power level of something like an Evenly Matched, where it is just it's a one-way ticket to winning the game. There's so many times I see a game that can be decided by just having Dark Ruler No More, or not having it. So that's why I had to put Dark Ruler in my very strong here. So that's going to do it for our tier list, guys. This is what I would say is my opinion of the format and how I would rank the tiers. Let me know if you guys agree. Let me know if you guys have something else. Maybe you make it different from yours. Let me know down in the comments below. And if you haven't already, like and subscribe. I'm RetroYGO, and I'm signing out. Peace.